All right, Shalom. I want to start off by giving all praises, honor, and glory to Yahweh, Ba'ashem, Yahushai, Ba'ashem, Harakakadash. Double honors to the apostles and elders of Great Millstone. Peace and salutations to you brothers to the four corners of the earth, preaching His word and also laboring in His word in truth, love, and sincerity. And may blessings fall upon the houses of the 1/3. And this is just a quick video to further edifying of, a statement that was brought about at a camp last week, okay? And actually it was more of, a question, from an elder woman, that was receiving the truth, a woman that knew she was an Israelite, okay? And, getting the true understanding of, the Gentiles that was receiving mercy and salvation in the New Testament, goes back into Israelites, man, okay? The Israelite foreigners. Even we went into, the Israelites that's being grafted back in, or the Gentile, or the ones that's being grafted back in. I believe it's the wild branches. I believe it says, or something to that effect, that those being grafted back in are all Israelites too, But she made a statement, okay, because I want to get back into what this lesson is about. She made a statement, dealing with leprosy, okay, and she said, she was trying to wonder who the person was that was being spoken about that had leprosy and ended up being on his seed and it ended up being on him and his seed forever. And that person is mentioned at the end of the book of 2 Kings as Gehazi, okay, and I explained to her and told her that Naaman had leprosy, but he was eventually cleansed. So Lord willing, with this lesson, I can further edify on it, okay. So it's the book of 2 Kings 5 verse 1. Now Naaman, captain of the host of the king of Syria, was a great man with his master, and honorable, because by him the Lord had given deliverance into Syria. He was also a mighty man in valor, but he was a leper. And the Syrians had gone out by companions and had brought away captive out of the land of Israel a little maid, and she waited on Naaman's wife. And she said unto her mistress, would the Most High, my Lord, or I'll read it verbatim. And she said unto her mistress, would God, my Lord, were with the prophet that is in Samaria, for he would recover him of leprosy. And one went in and told his Lord, saying, Thus said the maid that is of the land of Israel. And the king of Syria said, Go, and I will send a letter unto the king of Israel. And he departed and took with him 10 talents of silver and 6,000 pieces of gold and 10 changes of raiment. And he brought the letter to the king of Israel, saying, Now when this letter is coming to thee, behold, I have therewith sent Naaman my servant to thee, that thou mayest recover him of his leprosy. And it came to pass, when the king of Israel had read the letter, that he rent his clothes and said, Am I God, to kill and to make alive, that this man doeth send unto me to recover a man of his leprosy? Wherefore consider, I pray you, and see how he seeketh a quarrel against me. Let's go into that word quarrel. Let me see, just because oh, come on, are you serious? I don't know why this is not working all of a sudden. Wow. But just to further go into it, the king was like, come on, man, I'm not the Most High. I'm not God. I don't have the authority to kill and to make alive. So then you're going to send me Naaman, this man of leprosy, like I can cure him or I can heal him? That's why it says, I pray you and see how he seeketh a quarrel against me. And I wanted to go into that word quarrel, but let's see. See if it did it work. Wow. Let's continue on verse 8. It says, And it was so, when Elisha, the man of the Most High, had heard that the king of Israel had rent his clothes, that he sent unto the king, saying, Wherefore hast thou rent thy clothes? Let him come now to me, and he shall know that there is a prophet in Israel. So Naaman came with his horses and with his chariot, and stood at the door of the house of Elisha. And Elisha sent a messenger unto him, saying, Go and wash in Jordan 7 times, and thy flesh shall come again to thee, and thou shalt be clean. But Naaman was wroth, and went away and said, Behold, I thought he will surely come out to me, and stand and call on the name of the Lord, which is Yahweh. When you see Lord in all caps, that's the Lord's name is Yahweh. Okay, that's what it should be there, Yahweh. And stand and call upon the name of Yahweh, his power, and strike his hand over the place and recover the leper. Are not Abna, and Pharpar, rivers of Damascus better than all the waters of Israel? May I not wash in them and be clean? So he turned and went away in a rage, man. And that's Jake for you, man. That's how Jake is, So, Naaman, was on his, he was on thinking of his own thing. Like, look, man, you supposed to be a prophet. You're supposed to be a man of the Lord. Why can't you just call upon the name of the Lord, and call upon the name of the Lord over this place and recover me, man, and heal me? Then you're going to tell me to go to the river of Jordan? Well, isn't these other rivers better? And that's what he's saying. But hey, what he eventually does take heed, but it's like, hey, man, Elisha's a man of the Lord. He's a prophet, man. You should take heed of what he's saying. You see, but the way Naaman wanted it, was a different type of way. Okay. Verse 13, it says, And his servants came near and spake unto him and said, My father, if the prophet had been thee, it says, My father, if the prophet had bid thee do some great thing, wouldst thou not have done it? How much rather then, when he said to thee, Wash and be clean? Then went he down and dipped himself 7 times in Jordan, according to the sayings of the man of the Most High, and his flesh came again like unto the flesh of a little child, and he was clean. You see, so Naaman was stricken with that leprosy. Okay, but when he did what Elisha bid him to do, he went back into his original flesh, which was a dark complexion, and we're going to get into that in a minute. And it's basically the same thing, as Moses did what he did. Matter of fact, we get it right now. Okay, it's the book of Exodus 4. Right? There's the book of Exodus 4, verse 6. It says, And the Lord, right, Yahweh, and the Lord said furthermore unto him, Put now thy hand in thy bosom. And he put his hand into his bosom. And when he took it out, behold, his hand was leprous as snow. You see? Leprous. You see? What is leprosy? It says what? To be diseased of skin, be leprous, to be a leper, to have leprosy. Okay? So I read it again. It says, And the Lord said furthermore unto him, Put now thy hand into thy bosom. And he put his hand into his bosom. And when he took it out, behold, his hand was leprous as snow. You see? And he said, Put thine hand into thy bosom again. And he put his hand into his bosom again and plucked it out of his bosom. And behold, it was turned again as his other flesh. And this is how another way you could cut this madness of, this white supremacy doctrine, saying that Moses was a white dude, man. You see? Moses was a dark-skinned man. Okay? Moses was a dark-skinned man. All right? And this right here proves it, because it told you when he put his hand in his bosom and brought it out, he was leprous, white as snow. You see? Which that's that, so-called Caucasian or Edomite, Edomite majority, skin complexion that they have today, which is, the so-called white skin. Okay? But when he put his bosom back, his hand back into his bosom and brought it out, it returned back into his original flesh, which is being dark skinned. All right. So now, this is almost the same thing going on with Naaman, or as what happened in Naaman, for as as he said, what he was back and restored as he was when he was a little child, back into his original flesh, his original skin complexion, in better terms. Right? So 2 Kings 5 verse 14, it says, "Then went he down and dipped himself 7 times in Jordan, according to the sayings of the man of the Most High. And his flesh came again like unto the flesh of a little child, and he was clean. And he returned to the man of the Most High, and he and all his company, and came and stood before him and said, Behold, now I know that there is no God in all the earth, but where? But in Israel. Now therefore I pray thee, take a blessing of thy servant. But he said, As the Lord liveth, before whom I stand, I will receive none. And he urged him to take it, but he refused. And Naaman said, Shall there not then, I pray thee, be given to thy servant two mules, burden of the earth? For thy servant will henceforth offer neither burnt offering nor sacrifice unto other gods, but unto Yahweh. And this thing the Lord, or Yahweh, pardon thy servant, that when my master goeth into the house of Rimmon to worship thee, and he leaneth on my hand, and I bow myself in the house of Rimmon. When I bow down myself in the house of Rimmon, the Lord pardon thy servant in this thing. And he said unto him, Go in peace. So he departed from him a little way. But Gehazi, the servant of Elisha, the man of the Most High, said, Behold, my master hath spared Naaman this Syrian, and not receiving at his hands that which he brought. But as the Lord liveth, I will run after him and take somewhat of him. So Gehazi followed after Naaman, and when Naaman saw him running after him, he lighted down from the chariot to meet him and said, Is all well? And he said, All is well. My master hath sent me, saying, Behold, even now there be come to me from Mount Ephraim 2 young men of the sons of the prophets. Give them, I pray thee, a talent of silver and 2 changes of garments. And Naaman said, Be content, take 2 talents. And he urged him, and bound 2 talents of silver in 2 bags with 2 changes of garments, and laid them upon 2 of his servants. And they bare them before him. And when he came to the tower, he took them from their hand and bestowed them in the house. And he let the men go, and they departed. But he went in and stood before his master. And Elisha said unto him, Whence comest thou, Gehazi? And he said, Thy servant went nowhere. You see? So Gehazi lied, man. That's what he said. Well, where you coming from? The servant went no whither. That's what it says, but basically nowhere. And he said unto him, Went not my heart with thee, when the man turned again from the chariot to meet thee? Is it a time to receive money, and to receive garments, and olive yards, and vineyards, and sheep, and oxen, and men servants, and maid servants? Right? This is what he's asking him. The leprosy therefore of Naaman shall cleave unto thee, and into thy seed forever. And he went out from his presence as a leper as white as snow. You see? So this is what happened to Gehazi, right? And his seed forever, for the things that he just have done. And that's why it says you wasn't after mine heart, you see, because there's a reason why Elisha did it. Elisha was like, Nah, I'm cool, I'm just doing the Lord's work, I'm good, But Gehazi was doing his own thing, And then on top of that, I read it again. It says what? Let's see. And when he came to the tower, verse 24 again, it says, And when he came to the tower, he took them from their hand and bestowed them in the house. And he let the men go, and they departed. So he took what they had. So Gehazi is the one that that had the leprosy placed on the leprosy that was of Naaman placed on him and his seed forever. And Naaman was the one that had his leprosy cleansed after he listened to Elisha. Okay. So now let's I want to further expound on leprosy. Let's see if they got it in here. We actually went over it already, right? To have leprosy is a white skin. Okay. Matter of fact, let's get in the scriptures to get it a little bit. Leviticus 13. Let's see. Leviticus 13 chapters, because it expounds deeply, a little bit more deeper into this, into leprosy. All right. So it says, Leviticus 13:1, it says, "And the Lord spake unto Moses and Aaron, saying, When a man shall have in the skin of his flesh a rising scab or a bright spot, and it be the skin of his flesh like the plague of leprosy, then he should be brought unto Aaron the priest, or unto one of his sons the priest. And the priest shall look on the plague in the skin of the flesh, and when the hair in the plague is turned white, and the plague in sight be deeper than the skin of the flesh, it is the plague of leprosy, and the priest shall look on him and pronounce him," what? "Unclean." You see, so Esau calls it now, what is it, Villalago? You know, that's what they said Michael Jackson had, Villalago, but really that was leprosy, man. You know, what was starting to show forth through that dude, you know, was leprosy. Okay. So yes, you know, so when it's like that, you know, the priest will what? Pronounce you unclean. Okay, and then it says what? "And if the bright spot be white in the skin of his flesh, and in the sight be not deeper than the skin, and the hair thereof be not turned white, then the priest shall shut him up that had the plague 7 days." So you got to go through a whole a process, you know, of, you know, dealing with the priest of when you're during the time of, you know, that uncleanness. Right? Want to jump a little bit up. It says, let's see. I want to get to the main points. Okay. Leviticus 13 verse 29, it says, "If a man or woman have a plague upon the head or the beard, then the priest shall see the plague, and behold, if it be a sight deeper than the skin, and if there be in it a yellow thin hair, then the priest shall pronounce him unclean. It is a dry skull, even a leprosy upon the head or beard." You know, and having that thin yellow hair, right, which we do know the Edomites do have, you know, the so-called white people, that's leprosy of the scalp. Okay, and so that's why we be big on, you know, telling the women of our nation, you know, hey, what's the purpose for you wanting to have blonde hair, man? That shit is unclean, man. That's leprosy, you know. But we know that through generations of times, you know, they've been taught the hatred of themselves. So what do they want to do? They want to mimic and look like their oppressor, you know. And you know, a lot of the generations, especially like my generation and a little bit, and especially further on down, you know, our women growing up was, you know, taught and played with what? A lot of the Barbie dolls, you know, the princess Barbie dolls and all that, and growing up, you know, the long, you know how Esau do with the witchcraft. They got the long, beautiful hair, blah blah blah, you know, yada yada. But really, that shit is filthy, man. You know, that shit is filthy, man. And you really can't even do no hairstyles with they type hair, man. You know, not only is it unclean, but which is, yeah, it's leprosy. You know, and that's the worst type of hair you can have. You know, and don't let them get rained on, man. It stinks, man. They smell like wet dogs. You know, but you know, that's besides the point. You know, but dealing with having that blonde hair, man, right, which is that yellow hair, that blonde hair, that shit is unclean. That's leprosy. You know, so, you know, having white skin is leprosy. Having blonde hair is leprosy. Leprosy of the head or leprosy of the scalp, right? Having so-called white skin is leprosy of the skin, and even having you know, I believe it's having them blue eyes too. That's you know, that's not that's a deformation. You see. So let me see. Let me see if there's any more on that. Right. So yeah. So if you want to go into how the priests and them, did the cleansing and how long the people had to sit out and things like that, you can just go read the whole book of Leviticus, the 13th chapter. This whole book, right? Whole chapter is dealing with leprosy. Okay, if you want a more deeper and broader understanding of it. All right, so we get one more. Let's go with Miriam, right? This is when Miriam, Moses' sister, came against him, right? Oh man, Numbers 12. Okay, so it says, let's see. So this is when Aaron and Miriam was speaking against Moses, right? So Numbers 12 verse 10, it says, in a cloud, I'll start at 9, it says 8, it says, with him 7, it's like, it says, my servant Moses is not so, who is faithful in all mine house. With him will I speak mouth to mouth, even apparently, and not in speeches. And the similitude of the Lord shall behold. Wherefore then were you not afraid to speak against my servant Moses, right? And it says, and the anger of the Lord was kindled against them, and he departed, and the cloud departed off the tabernacle, and behold, Miriam became leprous, white as snow. And Aaron looked upon Miriam, and behold, she was leprous. And Aaron said unto Moses, alas, my Lord, I beseech thee, lay not the sin upon us, wherein we have done foolishly, and wherein we have sinned. Let her not be as one dead, and of whom flesh is half consumed, when he cometh out of his mother's womb. You see? So it just shows you how bad it is, to be stricken with leprosy, man. They had that so-called white skin, as it is pushed today as, so-called white people will claim they're the better people because, their skin complexion. But according to the Most High, y'all got leprosy, man. You see, you are considered as one that is half dead. Okay, so I'm not going to beat around the bush. If you want to go into it more with leprosy, you can read upon it, Leviticus the 13th chapter. But, I just wanted to make the point and go into it, dealing with Naaman and Gehazi. Okay, so hey, Lord willing, I hope this lesson was edifying. Shalom.